It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNR Network websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Hi, diddly-do, folks. We got lots of stuff to do this week.
Yes, we do.
We are in the middle of our Boston Springs A Fethival coverage, a couple months late, but we're getting it done. With this week, we will have the Boston Underground Film Festival and the Irish Film Festival to talk about and the movies therein. Plus, Kim has a classic review, and we have lots of buzz around Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, I see what you did there.
I hope so. I worked hard on that one.
Yeah, all of 2 minutes.
All coming up right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Stand by for the fun.
Subject Cinema is coming at you.
Buzz.
On air, online, on now. From the hub of the universe, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, this is Subject Cinema. With your hosts, T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
Welcome to another episode of Subject Cinema, the oldest film roots podcast on the internet, now in its 13th year. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
And we are in the middle of our Boston Springs A Fethival Film Festival coverage.
Yes, we are.
We were supposed to do this in April, in May, and I was involved with the events around my mother's passing, so we're doing it now. I feel bad because some of these festivals were 4 or 5 months ago, and we're just now getting to them.
Yeah.
But we're still giving them the best coverage we can, and it's always fun to talk about film festivals. How was your week?
Very restful, because I didn't have to go to work for the most part.
This week was the 4th of July.
Yes, 4th of July.
We had a lot of fun.
Yes.
For those day and date, this is July 8th, 2018.
Yeah, I took a little mini vacay.
And also Subject Cinema number 610.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
And 4th of July was good. We just kind of we had
vegged.
we had a little staycation for the 4th of July. Stayed home and
we both worked on Monday. I took Tuesday off because I couldn't take the rest of the week off because other people in my department were. We were off Wednesday because we're state workers, and then she took Thursday and Friday off. Left me to deal with the hell of a commute on Friday. I know it normally takes us about an hour and a half to get home.
Yeah.
I took almost 3 hours to get home.
well,
on Friday.
considering I had a hell of a commute on Tuesday, it all worked out.
I was later.
You were later.
By about a half hour.
Yes,
yeah.
that's true.
I ended up having to take the Silver Line, too, to get to where I needed to go. And then the Blue Line broke down right after I got off of it. Thank goodness I didn't stay on it, because it broke down like 3 minutes after I got off of it. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. But we stayed home on the 4th of July and watched the fireworks from the Esplanade on TV because that's the best way to watch them.
It is, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. They had some interesting guests this year. Fight song lady, Rachel Platten, was there.
Yes, and EGOT winner, Rita Moreno. For those of you who don't know what an EGOT is, that's someone that wins
Emmy, Grammy, Tony, Oscar.
Yes.
They've won all of them.
And she's an awesome person. And the fireworks were beautiful, as they are every year. I went to the Esplanade once. I will never do that again. It is much easier to watch them on TV. You get to see everything, and you're not outside in the heat, surrounded by strangers and choking on smoke. So, there's that.
Well, you wouldn't be with that anyway, because it's way up down the river. It wouldn't really come back at you.
Yes, it does.
Oh, does it?
Oh, yes,
well,
it does.
It depends on which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that you're getting the backlash from the bazookas
from the cannons from the 1812 overture.
1812 overture, yeah. So it's kind of crazy. So we hope you had a nice 4th too, and we hope that you will continue to support Subject Cinema by listening to us. I can't talk today.
No, you're having a problem today.
Subject Cinema by continuing to listen to us and supporting us by spreading the word on Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere else you're out there for, and also by coming on board as a Patreon supporter. Patreon is a great way to support us. We are trying to do a whole bunch more now, although we were able to recently upgrade our equipment thanks to some money left by my mother. We have a lot more to go, a lot more to do, and we'd love it if you came on board and help us out with all these new projects.
Yep.
And that is at subjectcinema.com. You can listen to us and check out everything we got to offer. And to join our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/PNRNetworks. You're supporting not just Subject Cinema, but all of the PNR Network family.
Yep.
So let's get into, right after this, our Boston Springs A Fethival coverage for this week as we head over for a wee bit of the Blarney and the Irish Film Festival.
And deep underground for the Boston Underground Film Festival.
When Subject Cinema returns.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 610. We are discussing our second week of 5 of the Boston Springs A Fethival season. Boston's film festival season is crazy. From about mid-February, President's Day weekend, when the Boston Sci-Fi Festival happens, it's a little earlier for our official inclusion. But on March 1st through May 1st, there are 9 festivals, plus 3 film series, and we're going to be talking all about them all month long. Now, in the case of Salem, last week, we'd actually gone to go there, but because Salem, Underground, Irish, and one of the other ones were all the same weekend this year, we didn't get to any of the other ones.
No.
But we do want to highlight all the movies,
Absolutely.
even though we haven't had a chance to see most of them, because they're, despite my efforts to get them on screeners or see them online, but we will talk about each film and each title so you can keep an eye out for it, because let's face it, these festivals have a track record for getting really amazing films in.
They do.
Let's start with the Irish Film Festival. The Irish Film Festival, I don't know why they don't call it the Boston Irish Film Festival.
I don't either.
It's only called the Irish Film Festival, and this is another one of those little perks that we go through. Every film festival up here, except Irish, has the word Boston in its title, even though 75% of them aren't actually in Boston, they're in a suburb.
That's true.
I mean, it is. I always rag about them every year during the coverage too, just tease them about it, because the
only one that actually
IFFB, the Independent Film Festival Boston, actually happens in Brookline, Cambridge, and Somerville. And the Irish Film Festival, which does not say Boston, is in Somerville.
Yeah.
And the one we'll talk about in a minute, the Underground Film Festival in a few minutes, is actually not in Boston, but it's in Cambridge.
No.
So
the only one that actually does take place in part of Boston is the Roxbury Film Festival, and because Roxbury is considered part of Boston.
Yeah, there are others that have Wicked Queer is partially in Boston and partially everywhere else, and so is Real Abilities, which we'll talk about those in weeks ahead. But right now we're going to focus on the Irish Film Festival, which happens every year at the Somerville Theatre in Davis Square in Somerville. It is a great theater to go to.
It is a great area.
A lot of festivals choose the Somerville. I mean, that's where Sci-Fi is too, and a couple other ones. Because they have great seating arrangements, they have a great sound system, and it makes it super easy to see films there.
Well, I think something else that makes a film festival important isn't just the place where you see the film, it's what's going on around the festival, the place where they have the films. Because it's one thing to have a film festival out in the middle of nowhere. It's really helpful if you have a film festival where there's other things to do between films. Places to get something to eat, places to shop, stuff like that.
Well, Davis Square doesn't really have any place to shop, but they do
have
quite a few
No, but it's got a lot
eateries.
of places to eat.
There's Mike's. Mike's Deli, which we love, and there's
Mike's Deli, the Boston Burger Company
across the street. There's J.P. Lick's ice cream across the street. There's a Bum Pond down the street. There's a shawarma place down a couple blocks from there. There's great places to eat. The only shopping is CVS, I think, and a couple of like small specialty stores.
That's true.
But they have great places, and the Crepe place right next door.
The Crepe place, and there's the Chipotle.
Anyway,
and there's
Irish Film Festival. We've had the pleasure of being there in person a number of years. This, like I said, though, it was the same weekend as both the Underground and Salem this year, so we were unable to get there. And going through each, we're going to talk only about the feature films, not about the shorts. We will have a large Boston Springs A Festival PDF book out sometime near the end of the month, which will have links to all the festivals, all the films therein, and mentions of all the shorts, as well as other stuff that went on during them, and write-ups about each festival and stuff. And we'll make it known when you can get that. If you're a subscriber to our newsletter, you should get it automatically. Get a link to it automatically, but and I'll tell you how to do that later in the show. The Boston's Irish Film Festival began with the film Kissing Candace. I just can't talk today. Kissing Candace, which was starred Anne Skelly. Candace longs to escape the boredom of her seaside town, but when a boy she dreams about turns up in real life, she becomes involved with a dangerous local gang. It is a breakthrough feature from, I believe, first-time director Alf McArdle.
Yep.
And got really great notices from the people that saw it on Twitter.
Also playing at the Irish Film Festival this year was Maze, which is the story. I'm going to read this right from their website.
Yep.
Maze is based on the true story of the 1983 mass breakout of 38 IRA prisoners from the HMP Maze High Security Prison. As Larry Marley, the chief...
Not very high security.
Well, apparently not, you know. And the Titanic was unsinkable, right? Okay.
Correct, exactly.
Okay. As Larry Marley, the chief architect of the escape, schemes his way towards this feat, he meets prison warden Gordon Close. Initially, they are confirmed enemies born on opposite sides of Northern Ireland's political divide, but when Larry realizes that Gordon may be useful for his escape, a slow seduction begins. What follows is an intense and intriguing drama during which an unlikely relationship is forged between two adversaries.
Yeah, from director Stephen Burke. This was the winner of the Director's Choice feature, another award that they give every year at the Irish Film Festival. They also showed Song of the Sea, which is one of the most talked about animated films of the last couple of years.
Yes.
It came from the creators of The Secret of Kells a few years ago and was considered a breathtakingly gorgeous hand-drawn masterpiece and is based on the Irish legend of the Selkies. Song of the Sea tells the story of the last seal child, Circe, and her brother Ben, who go on an epic journey to save the world of magic and discover the secrets of their past. This is probably one that we can find online eventually. I don't think it's out there yet because I looked for it. It was presented co-presented by Belmont World Film's annual film family festival. We'll talk more about the Belmont Film World Festival a little bit later on this month. And they had this is a family film that everybody has been raving about. It came from 2014 originally. So it's been out there for a while.
A selkie is a creature in Celtic folklore. They usually can change into seals, and it's not like a werewolf kind of a situation. They shed their skins and they become human, and if a human gets a hold of their seal skin, they can keep them on land. It's a very interesting myth.
Also showing, although it's not technically feature length, it was only 55 minutes, was the documentary In the Shadow of the Glen. This has been making the rounds around the festival circuit for about a year. A century of continuous global change has devastated Ireland's rural communities, and vast areas, especially in the west of the country, are being decimated. One such area is the village of Loch Con Artha, a village situated at the foot of the impressive Knockmarden. I hope I'm saying these right. I don't speak Celtic. In West Connemara, a mountain that has for centuries been a defensive wall for its inhabitants, but which today can no longer defend the village from the most recent onslaught. This has been a really critically acclaimed film, as it has made its way around the festival circuit. So it's definitely something to check out if you get a chance.
The Breadwinner was also shown at this year's Irish Film Festival, winner of a special jury prize. It is the executive producer for this film was Angelina Jolie, and it was done with the working with the people that created The Secret of Kells, which was and Song of the Sea.
Right. Yep.
It's based on a novel by Deborah Ellis. It tells the story of Pravana, who is 11 years old and growing up in Afghanistan in 2001, which was at the time under the rule of the Taliban. When her father is wrongfully arrested, Pravana cuts off her hair and dresses like a boy in order to support her family. Working alongside her friend Shauzia, Pravana discovers a new world of freedom and danger. With undaunted courage, Pravana draws strength from the fantastical stories she invents as she embarks on a quest to find her father and reunite her family.
And again, this was included in the Irish Film Festival because it was made in Ireland.
Yes.
By the Irish animation.
And you can definitely see the art style is very similar from Secret of Kells and In the Shadow of what was the other name of the other film?
Song of the
Sea. Sorry. Sorry. Going too fast.
The farthest was a documentary which talks about it's about a tiny spaceship in a large solar system and all that it has done over the years. It's considered one of humankind's greatest achievements. And before the lights of the original Voyager spacecraft finally go out in about a decade, this thing will have gone all over creation. It's now headed into the void at the other end of the galaxy. I still find it crazy that stuff like this is still working out there, for one. I know they've lost contact with some of them occasionally, but the farthest celebrates all of these type of machines and how they are still working, still telling us all about life out in space and what could possibly be there.
I still say one of these days some of that stuff's going to come back and they're going to play a tape of it. There's going to be some little green dude with a sign, "Stop parking on our lawn." Playing also at the Irish Film Festival this year was a documentary, Kevin Roche, The Quiet Architect. Still working at age 95. Wow. Pritzker Prize-winning Irish-American architect Kevin Roche is an enigma. He's reached the top of his profession but has little interest in celebrity and eschews the label Starchitect, which I've never heard before.
Norman Foster would be a Starchitect, I would think.
Probably like Frank Lloyd Wright, too, and people like that.
Yep.
Despite a lifetime of acclaimed work that includes the Ford Foundation, Oakland Museum of California, and 40 years designing new galleries for the Met in New York, he has no intention of ever retiring and keeps looking looking forward. Roche's architectural philosophy focuses on creating a community for a modern society, and he has been credited with creating green buildings before they became part of the public consciousness.
I would probably be fascinated by that. We'll have to look for that one.
Well, I wound up loving
so many
that
films at
movie
the
that
Irish
you
Film
showed
Festival
me.
we get to see later.
Yeah.
Because they show up on Netflix not that long after. I've been looking for that one, and I haven't seen it
Unlike
yet.
The Runway, which took us forever and ever and ever to get.
Yeah, that was awesome.
No, that one architect movie that you insisted that I watch, and I was like, I'm going to be so bored, and I wound up loving it.
The one about Foster. How much does your building weigh, Mr. Foster?
So I definitely think I'd find this interesting.
It was great. The Limit of is a drama from director Alan Mulligan. James Allen is a man in control. He lives alone and works as a banker, does his best to look after his widowed mother. What he doesn't know is that the bank he works for is about to repossess her home. When the stress of this provokes a family crisis, James begins to question his whole life and to glimpse the ruthless, manipulative black heart behind the glossy veneer of the banking world, and decides to take action.
Okay.
Basically, it's bankers are bastards, and we already knew that.
I was going to say,
for the most part.
Yes, but it's nice that other parts of the world feel that way too, not just America.
Yeah.
No Stone Unturned sounds like a very difficult film to watch, but definitely one that people should. In 1994, 6 men were gunned down and 5 wounded in a pub in the small village of Laughlin Island. I hope that was even close. While watching Ireland's landmark victory over Italy in the World Cup. Despite a police investigation and subsequent reopenings of the case, no one has ever been charged for the murders. Alex Gibney reopens the original files and reports that followed, conducting an exhaustive and fascinating inquiry and uncovering a shocking case of collusion and cover-up, including interviews with families of the victims, case investigators, and committed journalists. No Stone Unturned is a suspenseful and profoundly effective true crime investigation from the producers of Bobby Sands' 66 Days.
Yeah, Gibney is a masterful way with words and art and vision.
It's really
when it comes
sad.
to his documentaries.
It's really sad that Miscarriages of Justice are a worldwide
that
thing,
actually
too.
has also played a number of film festivals too. It was actually in Salem too. We weren't able to see it up there. Between Land and Sea, a documentary talking about a year in the life of an Irish surf town at the mercy of the Atlantic Ocean. As it's described by their website, this observational feature, at times intimate, at times epic, embeds itself in the big wave surf community to present a thoroughly engaging and visually stunning portrait of the ever-changing life at Land's End. I would have been a sucker for this, and I've been looking around for it since I found out about it, because I love movies like that, and I'm definitely still on the lookout for these. We'll get these reviews up for you in the next few months as we finally track them down. But there's still a couple more here to go.
Working in conjunction with a film that was this also shown at Real Abilities, or was this shown because of Real Abilities?
It was co-presented by them.
Co-presented, okay. It's Not Yet Dark is the story of Simon Fitzmaurice. Soon after the premiere of his first short film at Sundance, Simon Fitzmaurice, a 34-year-old Irish filmmaker, is diagnosed with ALS.
No, if it's Irish, it's probably Fitzmaurice then.
Fitzmaurice?
Just
okay,
yeah.
I do apologize. I should probably know that.
We would pronounce it Maurice. That's how we are.
Yeah. Despite complete physical incapacitation, Fitzmaurice draws strength from his desire to create film and directs his first feature film, My Name is Emily, in 2015, using only his eyes. Narrated by Colin Farrell, It's Not Yet Dark transports us into Simon's creative world on a journey of self-realization and triumph.
It was a huge hit at Sundance and South by Southwest in 2017, and I know that's available. We need to look a little harder for that, because I know that's available. I've wanted to see it since it came out. In the Name of Peace, John Hume in America is a documentary about John Hume, who won the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1998, as well as the Martin Luther King Award and the Gandhi Peace Prize. He is the only person to have been awarded all three, and it has the documentary includes wide-ranging and insightful interviews with a whole slew of people, everybody from Presidents Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter to U2's Bono, Prime Minister John Major and Tony Blair, and is narrated by Liam Neeson with music by Bill Whalen, the conductor and composer of Riverdance.
This is a smaller, it's 65 minutes, but Noel Hill, Broken Dream.
And the closing night film, actually, yeah.
A searing portrait of one of Ireland's most renowned traditional musicians, concertina player Noel Hill, as he recovers from a serious assault that left him a battered shadow of his former self.
And again, Irish, it's probably Noel rather than Noel. We would pronounce it Noel over
Sorry.
here. No, I'm just thinking about Irish in my head as we're talking.
Yeah, but that's really bad because I'm part Irish, so I should probably
know
this.
Yeah, but you're Irish Canadian. You've never been to Ireland, so it's like not you're going to be.
No, that's true.
So that's the rundown of the features that were at this year's Irish Film Festival.
Along with all of the parties,
they
and
also
all
have
the
a number
book
of shorts,
signings
and they always run with shorts on their shows. I wish we could get back, and I'll send a message to the Irish Film Festival again. Guys, it's important for Boston, and I mean this for every film fan in the area. The film festivals in March need to pick separate weekends, because by picking the same weekend, you're diluting your possible audience. I actually had an email conversation with the lady who runs the Belmont World Cinema, or Belmont World Film series, which runs on Monday nights from March through May. And I told her, I said, you do realize your opening night's competing with 3 other film festivals right now? And she's like, what? No, I didn't know that. I said, are you kidding me? You guys need to talk to each other and set out dates, because we love coming to these, but we can't. It's hard for us to pick. And I got to be honest, simply because it gets us a chance to get away. If Salem's the same weekend, we're going to Salem.
Yep.
So it's like we do our best, and we still try to cover the movies the best we can. We still give you daily coverage on the website on eCinemaBoston.
Yeah.
But, dudes, you got to get all your stuff together and stop doing them the same weekend. When we come back, we will cover the other festival, one of the other festivals that was that same weekend. And I feel terrible about missing it, because it's always been one of our favorite film festivals in town. It was, we first went to it way back in 2010.
Yeah, I think so.
And we have been loyal patrons ever since of the Boston Underground Film Festival, and that's coming up
when Subject Cinema returns.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema.
Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video-on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning, from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Movies. Subject Cinema.
Welcome to another week here on Subject Cinema. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham, and we are talking about our Boston Springs A Fethival, second week of 5, and we hope you will join us every week of this, because we're going to be giving all of our local spring festivals plenty of airtime.
Yep.
Even though we have not yet a chance to see a lot of the movies, we want to make you aware of all of them that showed. And this time, the same weekend as the last festival we talked about, last 2 festivals we talked about, Salem last week, and which, by the way, is the Salem Film Fest. We kept saying Salem Film Festival. Salem Film Festival is in Salem, Oregon. Salem Film Fest is in Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And the same weekend as Salem, and as Irish this year, the Boston Underground Film Festival, which again takes place at the Brattle Theater in Cambridge, not Boston. And when they were first going, they took place at the Kendall Square Theater, also in Cambridge, not Boston. Nope. So we've been going to this since 2010.
Yeah. Actually, when we first started going to it, it was at the Harvard Square Theater.
Oh, that's true. Also
in Cambridge,
yeah,
which is no longer there.
Yeah. The first year we did go once to see the William Castle biography.
Spine Tingler.
documentary.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we went back the following year to see a whole bunch of stuff, and we've been going ever since when we can. This year is no exception. The Boston Underground Film Festival prides itself on being subversive. I think is
I think that's
would
the right
make
way.
them
Well,
proud. They usually do extremely outrageous films, although we've seen some not so outrageous films at the Underground, including I Declare War, which is a brilliant film from Canada from a few years ago. More recently, The Congress, which was a
very divisive film.
yeah, I enjoyed it. She didn't like it.
Yeah.
And last year 2 years ago, we saw The Lure at the Underground Film Festival, which was just a big hit at South by Southwest, and
Yeah.
I had to see it. This year, a number of films were there that were much talked about at earlier festivals or on the festival circuit, and as usual, unfortunately, we have not had a chance to see all of them, any of them, because of Salem. We were in Salem, but we are trying to keep our eyes out for them, and she will watch most of them when they come out.
Yeah,
A lot of them are a little too squishy for my taste.
that's true.
Kicking things off for their opening night was My Name is Maisha, which was one of the most. We saw the Twitters about this film were just over the top, for amazing. It's described this way by the film festival's website. On the evening of December 28, 1998, 19-year-old Maisha Jackson heads out for a fun night in L.A. with her cousin Ronnie and her friend Kai. Their grand plans are immediately deflated when their car gets a flat tire. They pull over into a gas station, and the trio takes turns dealing with the logistics of getting the car back on the road. But while waiting for AAA to arrive, Maisha decides to chill alone in the car and falls asleep with the music blasting, the doors locked, and all kinds of things happening from her inner dreamscape. It got incredible reviews from the people who were there on Twitter. I mean, it was just mind-blowingly good. From director Gus Krieger and screenwriters Rick Irby Hines and Gus Krieger, starring Rachel Walker, John Merchant, Dominique Tony, Dee Dee Stevens, Yvette Cason, and Greg Daniel. My Name is Misha has been making the film festival circuit. They also had a anniversary screening of Liquid Sky from 1982. It is a classic film that was seen very little in theaters at the time. It was it had premiered at Montreal World Film Festival. It had runs at cinemas in Boston, New York, and Washington D.C. It is a real mind trip if you've not heard of it or seen it. That was on their opening night on Wednesday. Now Thursday, they had a couple
kicked off
features
with a shorts program. Boston Underground has lots of shorts. That sometimes they run the shorts with a longer film. Sometimes they run them in a shorts program, which is what they were doing.
And of course, I have a short I'm watching for this year, and none of the Boston festivals had it. I've forgotten the name of it, but Theo Taplitz is the star of it, and I can't remember what it was called. It's not one he directed, so.
That evening, they also were running Pincushion, which was the New England premiere of Pincushion. Equal parts gothic fairy tale and coming-of-age drama, writer-director Deborah Haywood's feature debut spins a pastel pink yarn about a princess and a hunchback and the heart-rending cycle of intergenerational bullying that binds them.
That sounds right up your alley, actually.
It does, except for the fact that some of us remember those days and don't remember them very fondly.
Yep.
Also that evening was the Theta Girl.
Another really critically loved film on Twitter when it was shown.
As the local purveyor of the designer drug Theta, a hallucinogenic party drug that purports to expand and enhance consciousness, Grace Delco is everyone's best friend. When Gace is not slinging Theta at every party, DIY show, and orgy in town, she's hanging with her communal housemates, the all-girl punk band, The Truth Foundation. Things go quickly south when a band of Bible-thumping Jesus freaks led by the intense brother Marcus get dosed with theta and go on a maniacal murder spree. When people close to Gase end up dying, it's up to her and her supplier Derek to get to the bottom of the wave of death that becomes more personal with each new victim.
There was huge word of mouth. I was sitting there in Salem looking at the Twitters every night going like, damn it, this sounds like we missed something really special with this one. It's described as an exploitation film, which is just kind of crazy.
What?
Theta Girl has enough gore, nudity, laughs, punk rock, and metaphysical angst to satisfy your basest desires. The crowd went nuts for it. It starred Victoria Elizabeth D'Onofrio, Shane Silman, and Darrell D. Dove, and was really getting great word of mouth. Friday kicked off with another homegrown horror shorts program. These are shorts that are made in the New England area, and they do this every year with those. Followed by another film that had been much talked about around, The Queen of Hollywood Boulevard, shot through the lens of writer-director Orson Oblowitz's self-aware male gaze. The Queen of Hollywood Boulevard is an audacious female-centric revenge flick swathed in faded neon, religious iconography, and I cannot talk today. Leopard prints. The mesmerizing soundtrack spans vintage R&B to Bobby Beausoleil. Even in daylight, it oozes the quintessential Hollywood after dark aesthetic. If you come for blood, breasts, and a bokeh'd glimpse into Los Angeles' rapidly disappearing underbelly, you will be wholly satisfied. It basically follows the story of a strip club owner, or matriarch, Queen Mary, who a gangster from her past shows up on her 60th birthday to tell her that the empire she built isn't really hers. Directed by Orson Oblowitz and starring Rosemary Hochschild, Michael Parks in his final film, Anna Mulvoy-Ten, and Roger Guinevere Smith. This thing also went through the roof, and I'm like, yeah, this is like one of those, it's like one of those early 80s things like Ms. 45 or one of those very dark exploitation gun shoot 'em up film. Probably wouldn't have gone over that well later on in the month.
Probably not.
So, Let the Corpses Tan? Okay.
Yeah, that was a New England premiere for this French and Belgium film co-production. Burnt-out scribe Bernier passes away his retirement in his idyllic abode overlooking the Mediterranean with his girlfriend Luce. Their bohemian lifestyle is shattered when on one sweltering summer afternoon by Bernier's acquaintance Reno, who shows up with his gang and a giant payload of gold bullion that they have just knocked over an armored car for, killing one guard. Looking for a place to lay low, Reno and his crew left enough of a breadcrumb trail to lead a couple of detectives and other interested parties to Bernier and Luce's hideout. What ensues is an intense 24-hour standoff that will forever alter their once peaceful existence.
Yeah. Friday also included the annual Trigger Warning Shorts program. And the reason they call it that is because if you have certain things that trigger off reactions, this is where you're going to find the short that will happen to do that. Saturday kicks off every year at the Boston Underground since 2012 or 2013 with our favorite, perhaps, feature of the entire festival, the Saturday morning all-you-can-eat cereal cartoon party. For 2.5 hours on Saturday morning. It's the only safe thing for kids at this festival.
Yep.
And you're welcome to come in pajamas and share with cereals of all types. They have dairy and non-dairy alternatives for milk, and sit back and watch some of the god-awfulest cartoons ever created.
Some of which you will remember, some of which you won't. When the times that we've been,
there have been a lot of crap and some good stuff.
No, hold up. There has been some crap, your definition of crap and my definition of crap are two entirely different things, since you were practically boinging up and down in the seat with happiness over being able to see an episode of Lancelot Link's Secret Chimp, and I was ready to go lock myself in the ladies' room and stay there till it was done.
Lancelot Link was ruined by the fact that the sync was off by almost 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And that was really irritating. I love that show, though. But they've also shown...
they showed an episode of Star Trek The Animated Series,
which got laughed out of the building.
Yeah, I know, which, I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but I was sitting there going, WTF, why is everybody laughing?
Because they all think Bill Shatner's doing the voice when he's not. Both voices, and he doesn't. He doesn't only Kirk. It sounds like him, but it's not him.
It's not him. They've shown episodes of Super Friends. They showed an episode of the animated version of Planet of the Apes, which got really dark.
Yeah.
I mean, the imagery in that episode is you see these crucified human bodies, and it's very dark. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh yes, bring the kids to this."
Scooby-Doo has shown. The Barclays have shown.
An episode of Mr. T's cartoon.
Mr. T was shown.
And something called Tomfoolery.
Tomfoolery was awesome.
Which
I loved that.
Honest to blog, I don't remember this show.
I don't either, but it's a live-action, very oddball show from Rankin Bass Productions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun with that.
Also on Saturday was a showing of Top Knot Detective.
Which is one of the biggest hits of the year everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
And I can't believe we didn't get to see this, because when we saw the lineup announced, this was the one we were both groaning over. It's like, damn it, we've been wanting to see this.
For a fleeting moment in the 90s, Ronin Suri Tentai, or Deductive Reasoning Ronin, was a cultural phenomenon in Japan. It followed the journey of an Edo-era cop who roamed the land. Each week he battled with samurai warriors, robots, monsters, time-traveling baseball players, and or his own inner torment. Its writer, director, producer, editor, star, Takashi Takamoto was catapulted to fame before quickly spiraling into an ego-fueled abyss of sex, drugs, and scandal. Within a year, the show was cancelled, and in Australia, the series would become an endearing cult classic known as Top Knot Detective. It is an incredible story, except none of it really happened.
It's a total spoof featuring a Japanese-American cast and shot by...
Australian, actually.
A Japanese-Australian cast, sorry. Shot by directors Aaron McCann and Dominic Pierce. This thing premiered at Sundance, I think, and just sent the audience into hysterics. It was supposed to be one of the funniest things they'd ever seen. There is now a sequel in the works. I don't think it's out yet. I remember reading that they were making it, but it's been a monster hit, and I will definitely be checking it out when we can get it. I don't think it's on. We've been waiting for this also. It hasn't yet appeared on Netflix that I know of. So it's really something. Sound and Vision is done every year. It's done with some of the most cool underground music videos. A 2-hour program of some of the music you probably never heard.
Nope.
But the videos, we saw some of these at the Boston Film and Video Festival a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting what they do. The next feature film was Spore from Poland.
Yes.
Directed by Agnieszka Holland. Janina Duzinsko, a retired elderly engineer, is part-time teacher and full-time protector of animals who lives alone in a small mountain village near the Czech-Polish border. A staunch nonconformist who regularly speaks truth to power, she's become an outcast among certain circles. One day, her cherished dogs go missing. Duzinko has regularly gotten into confrontations with poachers in the area, and she fears the worst. Soon the poachers themselves begin to turn up dead, along with other neighborhood authority figures, under highly unnatural circumstances, and always with animal tracks found around the body, sometimes a deer, other times a boar. Could animals be taking their revenge? Wow. This one, I've heard a couple people talk about it online, and they were very, very praising of it. It stars Agnieszka Mandat Grabka, Viktor Zoborowski, Jacob Gierstal, and Patricia Volny. As we said, it's been labeled a genuinely radical film. Some have labeled it dangerous, and other countries have severely restricted its playing.
So you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Following that was Comedy Maybe, a shorts program. And that was followed up by another film, another narrative, a film from the United States, the East Coast premiere of a film called The Ranger. The epitaph for Punk's alleged death has been declared, yet its legacy echoes through new generations of misfits channeling angst into art. Jen Wexler's rambunctious debut harnesses that essence, a portrayal of desperate outsiders who must escape when their safe space is torn asunder. In this case, a pack of punks on the lam find themselves deep in the woods where an unforgiving authority figure lurks. After a police raid at a punk club leaves an officer dead, Chelsea and her friends flee the city for her family cabin secluded in a national park. Hazy flashbacks reveal Chelsea's history mired in tragedy, the accidental death of her outdoorsman Uncle Pete, and the zealous forest ranger who took her under his wing. The past returns in the familiar form of a ruthless by-the-book public servant who resorts to diabolical measures to protect the forest.
Yeah, it's said to be a very clever survivalist horror with peculiar humor and a rowdy flair. Jen Wexler also wrote it along with Giaco Forino and stars Chloe Levine, Jeremy Holm, Granite Lahu, Amanda Grace Benitez, and the always inimitable cult superstar Larry Fessenden. Mm-hmm. So it's like Larry is actually has had stuff shown at the Clotrudis Awards. Also,
yes,
he is a very interesting filmmaker.
He's a definite favorite of the Clotrudis group.
Yeah, Revenge is this has already come out and been talked about in a lot of circles, and we just haven't had a chance to see it. 3 misogynistic hunters receive a brutal lesson in consent when their prey becomes predator in this Grand Guignol-infused, convention-flipping, monomythic desert tale of rebirth and survival. A rich playboy brings his Lolita-esque plaything, Jen, on a secluded weekend getaway, and things get complicated as his desert oasis is double-booked for a romantic tryst and a guy's hunting excursion. Ding, 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 ding. There's a bell that should have gone off. Making the best of an awkward situation, the 4 wine and dine into the twilight hours while engaging in some light, frisky post-feast frivolity, but taking advantage of his brief absence the next morning, one of the hunter buddies wants to pick up where he thought things left off the previous night, and things get ugly really fast. Directed and written by Coralie Farajit and starring Matilda Anna Ingrid Lutz, Kevin Janssens, and Vincent Colomby. This is actually out there and has had a word of mouth from different circles everywhere, and so it's definitely on our. It's
also French. We should bring up that it is a French film. Yeah. The night ended with a secret screening of What They Don't Say, of whose stuff we don't know, because it just says secret screening directed by ? Not saying who it's from, how long, only saying that it's 90 minutes long, so you won't miss your train, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. Sunday was followed up with Something Wicked This Way Comes. Which is looking at the New England horror culture.
Mm-hmm. Documentary.
Yes, it is a documentary. The rich tapestry of New England horror is woven from the folk tales of early settlers, the Gothic tradition, and the heart-stopping lore of iconic authors H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King. Most who have experienced it agree that there is an undescribable quality affixed to the region, eerily suited to inciting strange creative urges. Something That Wicked This Way Comes is a project that includes a series of short films that chronicle New England's creepy atmosphere, profile a handful of today's artists in their attempts to carry on that legacy, and document the decision to pursue a horror film career locally.
Actually, a couple of these, I think, are narratives, and a couple of them are documentary segments. Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting to see what they were doing with that.
Yeah, I want to see this. Really badly.
There's a shocker.
Yeah, I know.
Daha from Turkey is the debut film from Onur Salik and it explores the age-old question of whether monsters are born or bred through the timely prism of the Syrian refugee crisis, crafting along the way a sharp examination of the horrors of the human condition. 14-year-old Gaza lives in a small town on the Aegean coast with his domineering father, Ahad. While Gaza dreams of studying and going to university, Ahad wants him to learn the ropes of the refugee smuggling business and eventually become his partner. Resistant to the idea, Gaza is drawn into a world of immorality and corruption by his father, and it isn't long before his soul is at stake in a dark and dangerous game. Starring Ahmet Mumtaz Kaylan, Hayat Van Eck, and Turgut Tunkalp. This film had no state funding from Turkey and was made with private backing. It was the U.S. premiere. Turkey does do most of the, like Canada, there's some backing from the government usually for filmmaking, and this one didn't get it because it was too controversial. So,
The Ghost in You was the title of an animated shorts program. All shorts dealing with, animation being involved with those. Following that was a documentary entitled Mexman. Sorry, my computer just froze. Give me 2 seconds.
Mexman is a fascinating documentary as well as a cautionary tale that looks at Los Angeles-based artist Germán Alonso, who is a walking, talking fountain of creativity. Puppetry, animation, drawing, computer graphics, and filmmaking are all mediums that he's dabbled in, but his goal in the live-action feature film adaptation of his creation, Mexman, a comic book-like character that's been a passion project of his for quite some time. He ends up having an encounter with Hollywood producer Moctezuma Esparza and turns a pipe dream into a real possibility. He must team up with a crew that don't necessarily understand or appreciate his erratic creative process. I'm not familiar with Mexman, so maybe Anthony is. Anthony is into that kind of stuff, so we'll have to check on that.
Sunday also brought the New England premiere of the film Tigers Are Not Afraid, which is it's a Mexican film. 10-year-old Estrella lives with her mother in a Mexican border town where street violence is endemic and daily life revolves around dodging bullets. One such day at school, as the children lie on the ground while gun blasts outside their classroom, Estrella's teacher gives her pieces of chalk, deeming them 3 wishes to comfort her. Upon returning home, Estrella finds her mother is missing and logically makes her first wish. While granted, the wish isn't all she'd hoped for, and soon the girl ends up on the streets. Joining a gang of children born in the same tragic predicament, Estrella is simultaneously a glimmer of hope and an inadvertent spark igniting a dangerous chain of events. Supplanting some of their reality-based horror with phantasmagorical creatures and animated plush toys, the unthinkable becomes easier to grapple with for resilient children thrown into a living nightmare and an audience that bears witness to their plight.
A couple of people compared this to Beasts of the Southern Wild, but I was looking at it on there in the same way that it's an allegory for something else that's happening out there. I don't know whether it actually resembles that or not, but it did get great reviews. The film festival concluded this year with Good Manners, the East Coast premiere from Brazil and France. Lonely nurse Clara arrives at a luxury tower block in Sao Paulo to interview for a live-in nanny position with Anna, a wealthy and equally lonely mom-to-be. The difference in these women's social classes and background is stark, yet Anna hires Clara despite a lack of experience and references. It's not long before Clara becomes an essential part of Anna's life, wearing the hats of housekeeper, handy person, confidant, and eventually lover. As her due date approaches, Anna displays an unusual tendency toward full moon somnambulism and a concerning choice of midnight munchies, all come to a head one fateful night when the best laid plans of women and werewolves often go awry. Ooh, there's a trigger right there. This closed the festival this year, and again, I mean, I honestly don't think any of the films this year got any negative word that I saw on Twitter. There was raves for most everything. There usually is. This is the kind of festival that Underground is, but it is a specific taste.
Yeah.
Underground can be very tasteless, very stomach churning in places. They have great films, and if you like that kind of stuff, it's going to be a big hit for you. We've seen a number of things there that we've enjoyed. We've seen a number of things there that we were like, okay, this is kind of weird. We saw a few years ago, a great film called Smuggler, which was based on the video game, I guess, in Japan, and it was.
That was really good.
It was really
but there
good.
were definitely a couple of parts of it that was like, okay, can't look at the screen right now.
And then John dies at the end, which outdid Scott Pilgrim versus the World, in my opinion, in the terms of humor and the way it was set up. I wish more people had seen that. Underground Festival called it quits on the 25th this year. And the same day we had to leave Salem, and it, as you can see, quite an eclectic lineup of films there. Now, we'll have a complete list of the films at both these festivals, this one and Irish in our previous segment, in our annual 2018 Boston Springs, our annual booklet, the 2018 edition of our PDF booklet for Boston Springs A Festival. Mm-hmm. We'll have links to all the festivals, all the film series, every film in the series that we can find. Sometimes they can't be found. And a listing, at least, of some of the shorts. And it'll give you all kinds of information about what reason we love Boston's Spring Festival season.
Yep.
There's just so much out there and so many different things out there that you cannot help but love it. We'd like to know if you enjoy film festival coverage, and we'd also like to know about your festivals. Keep us informed about festivals you have in your area that you attend, movies you see there. You can do that by contacting either one of us on Twitter, Platinum Rose L, or eCinemaBoston TC on Twitter, and also by writing us at Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com, so we can keep a track of everybody's cinema going out there for film festivals. Next week, part 3, we'll have 2 more great festivals and one of the film series as our rundown of the Boston Springs A Festival 2018 season continues.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNR Networks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
We probably can't cover the thousands of films made every year, but it's sure a lot of fun to try. Subject Cinema.
Affliction is being hailed by critics as a film of startling intensity. Performances by Nick Nolte and Sissy Spacek go for the jugular, says the New York Times. Entertainment Weekly calls it Paul Schrader's best movie yet. And John Powers of Vogue magazine raves, a beautiful, harrowing film, perhaps the best performance of Nolte's career.
The sucker shot himself. Who, Jack? Well, the other guy. I figured you'd know what really happened.
So as we mentioned at the top of the show, Kim was off part of the week this week, and as Kim is wont to do when she's off, she usually is traipsing through the various movie channels looking for new films she hasn't seen that pick up her interest, and she came across the 1997 film Affliction with Nick Nolte this week. Give us the story of this and what you thought of it.
Affliction is the story of Wade Whitehouse. It's told from the film starts with a voiceover narration from his brother Rolf, talking about his brother's strange criminal behavior and what happened to him. Wade is a policeman in a town in New Hampshire, and he is divorced from his wife, and they had a child, his daughter Jill. Their relationship is extremely strained. You definitely get the feeling that this isn't very kind, and I don't mean it to come off as incredibly unkind as it's going to. Jill is not an easy child to get along with. She's definitely... She's a very whiny child. She's at an age... It seemed like every other word out of her mouth in this movie was, I want to go home. She's not a teenager. She's in that in-between age, and at that age when parents, especially male parents, have a very difficult time relating with daughters. And the fact that her parents have split up are really not making things easy. And there's a lot of dysfunction in this film, in the fact that Wade, his brother Rolf, and his sister are from a very dysfunctional family. Wade is, as I mentioned, he is divorced. He's seeing a woman in town named Margie. And Wade's parents, at least at the beginning of the film, are still alive. And that's not a good relationship right there. Wade's father, Glenn, is an alcoholic, is a violent, hyper-masculine man, one of these, my sons have to be real men type of bullcrap individuals that I have absolutely no friggin' time for. And his declining years have not mellowed him out. If anything, they've made him worse. A murder winds up occurring, and it seems like it doesn't start off as a murder. It starts off as what seems like an accidental death. A wealthier man has come to town to go deer hunting. Yeah. And he goes out with a hunting guide named Jack, and their only one guy comes back. The man who was hiring Jack to go out and find deer for him to shoot, winds up shot and winds up dead. Jack swears up and down he doesn't know what happened. He heard a shot and he turned around. The guy was dead. Everyone seems to think that the man slipped, and when he slipped, his gun went off and he accidentally shot himself. Everybody except Wade. Wade, through his own inner turmoil, dealing with a past with a violent, abusive father, the fact that he is continuing the cycle of drinking and seems to be also leading on to the cycle of abuse with his own daughter, is convinced that this man was murdered, and the film continues on from there and spirals into a real bad situation that, if possible, continues to get worse through the fact that there is a reason that the phrase "the cycle of abuse" exists, and this film ends with more death, more destruction, more people hurt, and a really ambiguous, sad ending for a really sad man at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Directed by Paul Schrader, the cast includes Nick Nolte, Oscar winner James Coburn, Sissy Spacek, Willem Dafoe, Mary Beth Hurt, Bridget Turney, Holmes Osborne, Jim Trufrost, Tim Post, Christopher Heyerdahl, Marion Seldes, Janine Theroux, Paul Stewart, Wayne Robson, Sean McCann, Sheena Larkin, and Penny Mancuso. So you obviously, this is the kind of film that I would think would set off all your trigger warnings.
Well,
it really is.
Okay. Well, yeah, it made me uncomfortable, but the thing is, sometimes you have to watch things that make you uncomfortable. You watch them because you want to face that part of your life, and you want, I grew up with an alcoholic father. My father was an alcoholic. My father, thankfully, was not a violent alcoholic. He didn't get drunk and kick the crap out of me or anything like that. But he was abusive in other ways, like verbally and things like that. But I wasn't watching this film I wasn't watching this film to be like, oh, well, I want to see if I can take it. I was watching this film because I just thought it was a really interesting, for one thing, it has an amazing cast. And for another thing, it's simply watching the whole thing about the cycle of abuse. And the fact that if the cycle isn't broken, how it continues, even if the person is not part of the family's life, how the cycle still continues. And there's a scene right toward the end of the film that's really, really interesting in the fact that I was thinking to myself that, it really, the title of the film being Affliction, is really, really telling in the fact that when you think of a word like affliction, you think of someone being afflicted with something like like a disease or like an illness or something like that. And the fact that an illness, besides being something that can be afflicting, is also something that can be contagious. And the fact that abuse can be contagious. Mm-hmm. There's a part in the film that I was like, wow. There is no reason that should have happened except for the fact that behavior was something that was passed on from one generation to the next. And I thought that was really, really interesting, considering that most people take the attitude, oh, well, abuse is something that's learned. If a child sees their parent abusing, if a child is abused by their parent, they're probably going to abuse their own children unless they get help. And that's true. But there's also the idea that some people are just born to hurt other people. And is that something that can be passed down from generation to generation? Is that something that you can outrun or take away with therapy? Or is that something that's just going to always be there in somebody, rearing its head at a moment when there's a great moment of stress? Mm-hmm. It's not an easy film, and it's definitely not something that you're just going to sit down. I mean, I made a decision to watch it. I mean, it was just like, okay, I know this film is on today, and I have the time, so I'm going to sit and watch it. It's very powerful. It's extremely uncomfortable. Even if you grew up in a family where everything was always great, and I don't think anybody grew up in that family, but if you were blessed enough that you grew up in a family where, for the most part, everything was cool, and you never had like any big major problems growing up with your parents and stuff like that, even people like that, I think you could look at this and go, wow. If nothing else, you could look at this and go, thank God that wasn't me. Mm-hmm. It might make you turn around and call your mom and dad and say, hey, Mom and Dad, I really appreciate you. And my God, you were such great parents. I love you, click. And they're going, was that Bill? What just happened?
Well, how are the performances?
The performances were amazing. James Coburn,
won an Oscar for this film.
Won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and man, did he earn it.
I love the comment Schrader made to Roger Ebert about casting, Coburn, and apparently Coburn, he thought Coburn was bigger, could dominate Nick Nolte, and encouraged Coburn to prepare for playing this guy. To which Coburn apparently replied, "Oh, you mean you want me to really act? I can do that. I haven't often been asked to, but I can." I think that's his way of saying, so it's something I don't actually just have to go out and punch people and be an action star,
and
which is what he's become known for. Right.
I mean, up till that point, James Coburn was, he was elderly at that point, and he's not with us any longer, and, but he was known for doing parts in films, like the Flint movies and things, where he was just, kind of, hey, I'm cool and I'm a tough guy and stuff like that.
He was the original Chuck Norris.
Yeah. You watch his character in this film, and I mean, I will be the first to admit, there were moments in this film where it was an almost violent physical response on my part of loathing, of actually feeling it come up in the back of my throat like bile. How much I couldn't stand this character, and how much I truly hated him.
Again, triggered by personal triggers, I'm sure.
Personal, yeah, that's personal demons, but I acknowledge that.
Right.
And I also sat there going, well, thank God my old man was a bastard, but thank God he wasn't this guy. That kind of a deal.
So if you were scoring it, what would you score?
Just real quick, I want to bring up, Nick Nolte, you don't usually think is playing characters with this kind of intense vulnerability. And I thought what he did there was really, really powerful. And Willem Dafoe, who gets very high billing, isn't in the movie a lot. It is his narration, and usually now people think of Willem Dafoe as doing these very intense parts, or very, completely off the rails crazy people, which is no reflection on Mr. Dafoe, who I think is an amazing actor.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He was very low-key here for the most part, and it was really beautiful and understated. I give Affliction an A-. It's not for everybody, and some people may have to turn it off. I'll be completely honest and say some people may have to turn it off. And don't make yourself watch it if that's you. Don't make yourself do that. Don't turn it into an endurance contest, because then you won't find the deeper message in the film. But it is powerful, and if you think you can handle it, then I would say go for it.
The films of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is Subject Cinema.
It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-minute weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNR Network websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema.
So, how long have you been Ant-Man again?
Not long. It just sort of happened.
I wish I could fight bad guys like you.
I seem to mess it up almost every time.
Maybe you just need someone watching your back.
Oh, yes. Well, darn. It's time to buzz back into the Marvel universe here. I really am sorry. I've had so much problems with Marvel lately. I just do. But, I gotta be there. You gotta be there to see every part. If you're not there, you're missing out on something.
Lost.
And the first one of this was great, so we enjoyed it. Alrighty, so Paul Rudd is back, Michael Douglas is back, Evangeline Lilly is back, and the rest of the cast from the first movie are back, along with some new villains, some new bad guys, and a new adventure. In Marvel Studios' Epic? No, not Epic. But part of it, still part of their overall universe. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Give us a rundown.
Ant-Man and the Wasp begins actually in 1987 with a mission that the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym, and his wife, the Wasp, Janet Van Dyne, went on to save the world, which is what you do when you're a superhero. The mission involved them stopping a Soviet nuclear missile which had been launched from hitting America and killing thousands of people. The thing is, although Ant-Man and the Wasp were really small, they weren't small enough to get through the plating on the missile. At least Hank wasn't, and Hank also couldn't go subatomic because part of his equipment had been broken and damaged and he couldn't do it. Janet, however, could. And she sacrificed herself going subatomic so she could get in between the molecules of the plates of the missile to get inside, disable the missile, and save everybody. Unfortunately, at the time, Janet kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and disappeared into the quantum realm, which is this mysterious place beyond time and space and all that. Did you see The Incredible Shrinking Man? It's basically the same thing. We come back to the present day. The present day is looking at the life of Scott Lang, who is trying to do his best, living his life as the former Ant-Man, who is also currently under house arrest because of what happened in Germany at the airport, where there was the big smackdown between some of the Avengers and some of the other Avengers, or people that used to be the Avengers.
Just say, because of the events in Captain America Civil War.
See Captain America Civil War.
Right, okay.
So Scott is under house arrest and has to wear one of those big clunky ankle doodads. But he's making the best of it as best as he can and being a good dad to his daughter Cassie. And the thing is, he thinks that he's left that part of his life behind. As it turns out, he has not. And he starts to get these, for lack of a better term, visions. And it turns out that he is psychically inclined. His soul has merged. I don't know how else you want to word it. I might be getting too metaphysical for the science geeks out there, but he and Janet, who is gasp still alive, are on the same psychic wavelength, because in the first film he actually wound up in the quantum realm and actually made it back, something that had never been done before. So this reignites Hank and hopes that they can get Janet back. The problem is that they have to deal with some not so very nice people to get some of the parts involved in building a quantum tunnel, which sounds really dangerous. It's all science
Perhaps
stuff.
they're going to take a quantum leap through it.
Oh boy. And if you get that joke, give yourself a cookie. But there are these other people they have to be involved with in order to get the parts to build this stuff. One of them being a rather scuzzy individual named Sonny Birch. Sonny is willing to provide parts for prices, and it turns out that he's also been talking with other people about what Hank and Hope are building, and they're interested in it too. And that also brings the attention of a mysterious figure that winds up being called Ghost, who has a very tragic backstory. And the whole thing gets completely, tossed in a blender and hits puree, with Scott trying to keep his head above water, keep one step in front of the feds, which is not all that difficult in this movie.
Yeah, they are kind of dumb here.
Yeah, FBI stands for freaking bunch of idiots in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's not the word I used originally.
In this movie. We don't feel that way about the real FBI.
No,
we
not
don't want
the
to
real,
get on the watch list
No, the real FBI.
In this movie, they're played... Well, I don't know if they're really FBI. They're federal agents. They never really say FBI, do they, or do they?
No, they're FBI.
Okay, just checking.
The real FBI are a bunch of hardworking, dedicated individuals keeping us free from criminals and the forces of terrorism. And no, they're not making me say that. But those guys are great. Keep up the good work, keeping us safe. These imbeciles, on the other hand, could give the Keystone Cops a run for what the hell? And the whole thing culminates in a battle through the city of San Francisco, with things getting bigger, things getting smaller, things getting broken, things getting trashed, and things just going completely out the window while Hank and Hope try and rescue Janet from the quantum realm. Scott tries to keep things in check, and there's an ant playing a drum machine.
Oh, is that the end of that?
Well, I don't want to go any further. I want them to go see it.
With Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, otherwise known as Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne, the new Wasp, Michael Pena as Luis, the best bud of Scott Lang, his partners in that business, played by T.I. Tip Harris as Dave, and David Dastmalchian as Kurt. Yes, Kim talks
Love you,
about
Dave.
him on Twitter all the time. Walton Goggins as Sonny Birch. Bobby Cannavale as Jim Paxton, the wife of the husband of Scott's ex-wife, who's played by Judy Greer, and also Abby Reister Forson as daughter Cassie, and Hannah John Kamen as Ava Starr, a.k.a. Ghost, with also appearances by Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, Lawrence Fishburne as Bill Foster, and Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne. So what did you think?
I loved this movie. I loved the first Ant-Man. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it injected a lot of humor into the Marvel Universe. I loved this. I loved the continuing story. I love the fact that it slipped right in, because a lot of us were wondering when all of the stuff that happened in the Avengers Infinity War happened, we're all like, hey, where's Scott? What happened? You know, and all this stuff. Also, where the hell is Hawkeye? But I was like that because I care. I thought it was a great film. I thought the underlying message of this film is it's basically talking about what we do for those we care about, what we're willing to risk for the people that mean the most to us. I mean, what Hank and Hope are willing to do to get Janet back, when you look at what they're willing to do, that is stupidly dangerous. I mean, this is levels of dangerous that most people couldn't. And the thing is, people would be like, "Oh, well, you're just saying that because it's death and you're scared of death." No, I'm not saying that because it's death. I'm saying that because what they could go through is worse than death. If you think about it, getting stuck in that quantum realm thing, think about what that can do to you. Think about the fact that Janet's been there for 30 years, as it turns out, spoiler alert. But I think that, and you're not just looking at what's going on with Hank and Hope and what they're willing to do. You look at Scott and how he's willing to try and be there and be a good dad for Cassie when he literally can't step outside of his house. He's under house arrest for 2 years, and he's still trying to make things fun and exciting and things.
And she understands because both his daughter and his ex-wife and husband know about the Ant-Man adventures from the first film.
Yeah. And it's so cool watching him be a good dad. See, that's the thing I like. Scott Lang, and seriously, this is not me screwing around. Scott Lang is one of my favorite characters in the Marvel movie universe because he is a good person. He's not a good person because my country is in danger or, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. Some big altruistic crap. He's a good person because he's just a good person. He has a good heart.
He's done some stupid things, but he's still a good person.
Well, being a good person doesn't mean you don't do dumb stuff. You're a good person. You do dumb things.
Yeah, but he was a criminal beforehand.
Yeah, but he was a criminal doing something. He was a criminal, but he was a criminal doing something that was actually a good thing. He was trying to help people. Robin Hood was a criminal.
Okay, yeah. Anyway.
Bonnie and Clyde. Oh no, wait. That's all right. No, that doesn't work.
Okay.
But you know what I mean. Batman technically was a criminal until he got deputized by the police. If you go by that storyline, way before everything got rebooted 9 billion times.
Anyway, but back to Ant-Man.
Scott is a good person. Mm-hmm. He wants to be like I said, good people do dumb things sometimes. I like to think I'm a good person. Mm-hmm. And I know I do more than my share of dumb stuff.
Yep.
You do dumb things because you're with me. So that shows
that was one of the best decisions of my life. I do a lot of other dumb stuff though.
But I think that, like I said, this film shows that if you're willing to do what needs to get done to save the people that you love, then it may not all turn out right, but if you get them back, that's what matters. And I think that obviously when you look at a character like Lawrence Fishburne's character, because he's willing to go pretty far, but he's obviously not willing to go completely
over the line.
Yeah. And he knows where the line is, which I think is a really cool thing. I think this film, it's fun, it's funny, it's exciting. The fight scene in the kitchen, oh my gosh. That one fight scene with Janet fighting against the goons in the kitchen.
Right.
That was crazy. That was so good. I loved it. I thought the characters were all really, rich and exciting, and all people that I wanted to watch what was going on, and I got invested in them and invested in their lives. I think it's fun. It's a great addition to the Marvel universe, and of course, keep an eye out for Stan Lee because his cameo is completely, roll on the floor laughing out loud. It's wicked funny. What did you think?
I think it's the best movie in the Marvel Universe since Doctor Strange.
Woohoo!
And I mean, this is just not me just, talking. I had problems with Civil War. I had problems with Thor Ragnarok. I had problems with Guardians 2. And I had problems with Infinity War up to a certain point. I'm really been kind of ambivalent about some of the stuff. Infinity War was great till the last 10 minutes. This one is great until the teasers. I mean, the teasers are great, but it's not real happy. There's a lot of great stuff in this. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly have such great chemistry that it's sick. They are so good together, and they were great together in the first film too.
And he has wonderful chemistry with the little girl that plays Cassie. They really
they're really good too
as father and daughter.
One thing that I have to be honest, the stuff that goes on with the security team, I loved their shtick in the first film. Here, it was overdone. And I only say that because they only had one big sequence, but it was so stupid that it brought me out of the movie. I mean, it really was. I mean, I love Michael Pena. He's one of my favorite actors, but I didn't like that extended segment because it just felt out of place. Other than that, they were great in the scenes they had with Scott and David Dastmalchian. Yay! Who I think is really funny in that role, is as usual steals the scenes he's in.
Totally steals the scenes. I love him talking about Baba Yaga. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody actually mentions that. For those of you who don't, Baba Yaga is a witch in Russian folklore, which I was like, that's so cool.
They were, they're fun and they're great, and it does pay off near the end of the film. That whole middle segment. But it was too long, and it really did. It popped me out of the film. I didn't think it was
the whole thing when they're being interrogated by
that part. It brought me out of the film, and I was really kind of disappointed with that because they're better with it. They didn't let Michael Pena got to improvise a little bit more on the first film, and they didn't let him do so much improvisation here, and it shows. Let Pena do what he does best and stop trying to shoehorn him, because that makes it a little bit uncomfortable.
I would have liked a little more with Dave and Kurt, because I love Dave and Kurt. They're awesome. They're fantastic.
The little girl who plays Cassie is brilliant. She's just terrific, no matter where she's playing. I would like to know why all of a sudden Mr. Gruff, gruff cop, new husband of the wife, ex-wife, is suddenly hugging him every turn. I know he saved the family at the end of the last movie, but he was not. He was such a douchebag in the first film, and here he's like all huggy, and he was. Everybody thought he was. That was his function in the first film. He was out to get Scott, and I mean that was the whole point. Which in this case is Randall Park's job. It's a great film, and I really liked it. There's one or two aspects, again, the FBI thing. I mean, it's not a good idea to make FBI people look this clueless. I'm sorry. Really? And I didn't think it worked. But the rest of the film, especially the stuff with Scott and Hank and Hope, it works brilliantly. And it's funny as hell. I mean, it really is. There's a lot of humor, a lot of excitement. Special effects are great, particularly the quantum stuff, which is just out there and amazing. And it's just an all-around fun movie. Mm-hmm. What's your score?
I give it an A-.
I give it an A- too. There's little quabbles, but not enough to take away from the whole overall impact of the film. Mm-hmm. And producers, let Michael Pena loose again, please, because constraint doesn't work with him. Ant-Man and the Wasp showing everywhere. Don't miss it.
More Dave and Kurt.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
Time to head on out of here for another week.
Yep.
Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the Boston Springs A Fethival festivals this week. We'll have more next week in the next couple of weeks. Also, Ant-Man and the Wasp, go see it while you can. It's fun. I liked it better than I liked the first one. I love the first one too, but this one was just a little bit better. And the interaction between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly and Michael Douglas, just terrific.
Yeah.
We also have other stuff going on throughout the week, in case you didn't know. We have our own Subject Cinema spin-offs, Front Row 5 and 10 on Thursdays, where we do our unique entertainment lists.
Yep.
We have a 3-minute weekend on Friday and Tuesday, Digidex on Tuesdays, giving you the newest releases in both areas. Friday, the new releases in theaters. Tuesdays, the new releases on home video. You can check all of those out on our website at eCinemaOne.com.
Mm-hmm.
You also have, Platinum Rose's Garden is actually off for the summer.
Yes.
Because Supernatural is on hiatus, but you normally do that at PlatinumRosesGarden.com.
Yeah, PlatinumRosesGarden.com.
But you do have a great show on now and forever throughout the summer.
Hope so.
And it's called Ring Around Rosie.
My show, Ring Around... If you'd like to check out Platinum Rose's Garden, which is my Supernatural podcast, you can go back and listen to previous episodes and things like that. But if you want to check out Ring Around the Rosie, which I hope you will, ringaroundtherosie.net is over at that website. It's my wrestling podcast where I talk about all things wrestling. This past week I've been talking about movies about wrestling, specifically talking about the Darren Aronofsky film The Wrestler, and talking about other films about wrestling as well that you might have seen, that you might not have seen, and what I like about them, and hopefully you will go check them out. And I also have Raw and SmackDown results, and that's over at ringaroundtherosie.net.
Both her shows completely not safe for work.
No.
F-bombs.
Yes.
Beep, 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 beep. Back the truck up.
Lots of them.
Catastrophe Vortex returns this week with a brand new show. We will return with a new look, new format, and other things, all about your favorite disaster movies. I will kick off Volume 2, as I'm calling the new version, with the 1974 classic that is considered by most critics to be the best American disaster film of all time, Irwin Allen's The Towering Inferno. Kim will have her comments on it next weekend on Subject Cinema, because she watched it with me. We will also have lots of other stuff coming up on Catastrophe Vortex, available Mondays at CatastropheVortex.com. Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, currently on hiatus, but you can check out all their old shows at Cavebabble.com. They are funny as hell, and definitely movies, music, odd things to eat, games, and a lot more with Eric and Valerie Lyon at Cavebabble.com. And Aunt B's Nerd Grotto, available Wednesday and Saturday on Aunt B's Nerd Grotto at YouTube, and now available at his website at ComicGrotto.com. Anthony is talking about, comics, pop figures, news, cats, a number of other things he enjoys, and it's hosted by Anthony Lamberti. Video from him at ComicGrotto.com. Don't miss also. This week we will premiere the my new music show, The Kirkham Report. It is available on YouTube at our YouTube website under The Kirkham Report. Music, countdowns, news, commentary, and stuff. I will have a couple shows up a week, maybe 3 or 4 if I get time to do them. And it's basically going to be a lot like what you see on YouTube now, with like song countdowns, preferential stuff, weekly charts, stuff like that. And it's something I've always wanted to do. And it's been around for 15 years, going on 20 years, in its several different forms. This one's going to work. I know it. It's got to work because it's going to be fun. Hopefully there won't be any copyright problems. I've talked to a few people, and I think I can get around them now. So hopefully that'll be fun. I think that's everything as far as shows go, right?
Yeah, if you'd like to get in touch with us on the internet, you can talk to me at Platinum Rose Lady at Twitter.com.
Platinum Rose Lady?
Platinum Rose Lady or Platinum Roselle at Twitter.com.
Platinum Roselle. Don't give them the wrong address. You won't hear from them.
Yeah, or you can email me at PlatinumRoselle at Yahoo.com if you'd like.
Yep.
And you can talk to him on 2 different things on Twitter.
Yep, eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston TC, and also TKR1, but I'm not really using that yet. That's my Kirkham Report site. But we'll have a lot more on that. Plus, you can check us out on Facebook at PNRNetworks. Actually, I think it's under Popcorn and Roses still, because you can't change Facebook. Facebook bothers me anyway. I have problems with Facebook. Anything that supports Mark Zuckerberg's ego, I hate doing. Anyway, we hope we'll check those out. And as always, write to us. We love to hear from you. You can write to us about movies, music, games, anything you'd like to do. Our list show, our small podcasts, our mini shows, upcoming projects, or just to say hi. We want to hear from you. We don't hear from enough of our listeners anymore. We used to hear from regulars all the time, and all of them have gone poofta over the years. We'd love to have a new batch of regulars, so please write us at subjectcinema at PNRNetworks.com. And don't forget, we depend on our listeners for our support. We don't monetize our shows. We don't monetize our videos. Please help us out. Patreon.com/PNRNetworks. You're not just supporting Subject Cinema, you're supporting all of the PNR Networks podcasts and websites, which include eCinemaBoston, eCinemaOne, Kirkham Report, Planet BiblioMusica, which is at planetbm.com, Kim's show, the Planet Rose's Garden, Ring Around the Rosie, Cavebabble, and Comic Grotto, and everything else. Please support us, because we need your help to do what we want to do, and we work hard at this. And we never hear anything. We never get some love, man. You know, a couple bucks a month would really help. Hopefully it'll be more, but it'd be a real big help for us. So please, donate. Is that everything?
I think that's it.
Let's blow. For Subject Cinema, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown. I hope
may your popcorn always be buttered.
And I hope you're cleaning that off. And may your roses always be in bloom.
TTFN.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts TC Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2018 by PNR Networks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.